Tomorrow's big jobs number, the country's unemployment rate is now at 6.6%. North Carolina's unemployment rate stood at 9.5% at the beginning of 2013, but after ending long-term unemployment benefits in July, the rate came all the way down to 6.9% by December. North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory joins me right now. Governor, good to have you on the program. Welcome.
Thanks, Maria. After hearing the last segment, I want to set up an economic development office in New York City and bring all of them to North Carolina, where the Bank of America exists, in fact.
Will they come, Governor? How's your tax policy there? It's one of the issues that's driving them out of New York.
There's no doubt about it, and that's why we did major tax reform in our first year as governor, where we lowered our corporate tax and our income tax to recruit new businesses and to recruit new people who can start businesses in North Carolina and create jobs.
And are you seeing the results of that? What kind of a reception are you getting?
A very positive reception, and that's because the competition is doing it the same way. You know, I'm competing against South Carolina and Texas and Ohio and Wisconsin, all friends of mine who are governors, but we're competing against each other and we're competing against the rest of the world, and that's why when we hear of New York City's raising their taxes, that actually gives us a potential recruitment to bring some of those businesses to North Carolina or grow existing businesses in North Carolina. We've got to be competitive in our states, just like businesses have to be competitive against each other.
Yeah, really interesting, because that's what it comes down to. I mean, money at the end of the day is mobile, and it will go where it is treated best. Let me ask you, Governor, I saw you at the governor's annual meeting earlier this year, and we talked about so many issues in terms of what is in the way of economic growth. Give us a sense of what you're seeing there in North Carolina in terms of the big costs and the big issues that are getting in the way of job creation or getting in the way of economic growth.
Well, one of the difficult decisions we talked about with you at the National Governors Conference, and you did a great job in facilitating all these politicians in one room, one of the big decisions that I made as governor along with my legislature is that we had the 9th most beneficial benefits for unemployment in the nation, and while having that, our businesses owed $2.5 billion to the federal government, debt to the federal government, because of unemployment compensation. And at the same time, we had employers telling us that they couldn't fill certain jobs. People were not taking those jobs and actually staying on the extensions of unemployment. So we made the very difficult decision to not extend unemployment, lower our benefits equal to what South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia were paying, and pay off our debt and tear up our credit card to the federal government. And as a result, during the last 3 months, we've had the largest drop in unemployment in the country. And the major variable is the one decision we made on unemployment.
You know, that's fascinating because, I mean, there's a debate. Some people feel that, you know, you're really not helping the income inequality story if you're not actually extending those benefits and ensuring that people have some help if they do not have a job.
Well, we still want to help those who don't have help or are not getting the jobs, but the issue was we did have a certain number of people who were turning down jobs, who were looking for the job they wanted, they dreamed of, but not necessarily the job that was open. And, you know, in all of our lives, we've all had to take jobs that maybe it wasn't our dream job, but we had to take it because we had to put food on the table. And we needed to fill those jobs. And that's what's exactly happening in North Carolina, which is different than what the national debate is. But we still have training programs available and other types of programs available for those in which the job market is closed.
You know, this week, of course, the president came out with his budget proposal. I believe John Boehner called it the most irresponsible budget that he's ever seen. What was your sense of the president's budget proposal?
It just isn't realistic. You know, when I put together a budget, which I'm doing right now in my second year as governor, I expect it to be taken seriously, and I get into the details. In fact, I have a $20 billion budget in North Carolina, and I literally review every line in the budget. During the budget process, I sit in a room for 2 or 3 hours a day during about a 4-week period and review every major item in our budget and make decisions and prioritize very different decisions. And in my first year as governor, about 90% of my budget was adopted. And then we had debates with my own legislature about the other 10%. But it's the job of the executive branch, whether you're in a state capitol or in Washington, to present a budget that is sound, that is balanced and that is not based upon false numbers.
Well, where does the revenue come from in terms of growth? One of the issues was the spending in the president's budget. So when are we going to come together in terms of recognizing that the entitlements can't stay the way they are and need to be reformed, and tax reform needs to happen? We're talking to business people all the time, and they basically say, look, we're sitting on trillions of dollars of cash. It's true, but we'd rather use that money to raise dividends and buy back stock, not necessarily to invest and put it to work in terms of creating jobs.
Well, I've got to look at two areas. One is I have to look at efficiencies and streamlining, and where are there efficiencies in government, whether it be in even areas such as education or the ways that the universities can do more sharing of professors and teachers with the community colleges. Can we share capital buildings? Can we share budgets and other types of operating and capital resources? I'm looking for efficiencies, and at the same time, I'm looking for growth in my budget. So that's why I'm hopefully get North Carolina into the energy business, where 2 weeks ago I met with Secretary Jewell, who I was very impressed with in the administration, and we're going to hopefully get permission to begin seismic testing off the coast of North Carolina to find out if we have energy and is it suitable to drill in a safe and environmentally sound way to grow the economy. And so there are two different ways. Government has to look for streamlining and efficiencies just like business, while at the same time we have to be willing to enter into new markets like energy. And we have to have a tax rate that's suitable for business so they can get a return on investment and not be taxed out of our state.
I'm really glad you mentioned energy. That's probably the one industry that keeps coming up over and over again as being really an easy way to create jobs, and yet we're still waiting on that Keystone to be approved. We're still waiting on developments on fracking. Governor, good to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Congratulations on your start of the new show.
Thank you so much. Governor Pat McCrory joining us in North Carolina. One of the big topics on Wall Street, the